Check it out, the elusive Click Cigar. You know, I started working on pens 2 years ago, maybe, and I think these had become extinct at that point. I had seen pictures of them, I'd heard about them, but I couldn't buy them anywhere. Um, the only place I found them was a place in China, like Pen Kit Mall or something like that. It was probably not going to pronounce this right. Rising, Pen Kit Mall, I think it is. Um, and they weren't very expensive, but shipping was just crazy. Like, you know, one of those outfits where you set the low price and then you make all your money on shipping or something. Now, I don't know, it's shipping from China, maybe it is just really crazy expensive. Anyway, um, yeah, I kept watching the site, debating, and then I finally decided I'd order just a whole bunch of these. And get a decent per unit price. And then I think that there's probably enough interest. I'll be able to sell them to friends and other people that want to give them a try. And not trying to make any money. I just do it at cost, whatever my cost was. Um, and then you get to enjoy them, and so will I. So stay tuned, and I will go over the kit and my experience with making this pen. So here are all the parts that came for a click pen from Rizang. Interesting. So we have the click mechanism here. It goes into the tube there. It connects, looks like, with the screw to the tip. Here it's held under tension with that spring at the clip. And I got another spring for the refill and the other tubes. Now, notice the tubes are the same length. That's a little different than a regular cigar. Okay, so let's compare that to just the typical old cigar kit that I might buy from a U.S. pen vendor. So here's the Click cigar laid out against the Twist cigar. Yeah, they do look fairly similar. So these tubes are the same on the Click cigar, and no, not still even shorter than the short tube, and then quite a bit shorter than the long tube. So I'm kind of curious to see how that ends up changing the overall length of the pen. But yeah, so I'm curious to measure these now. I didn't buy any bushings. I figured I would just turn it between centers if my cigar bushings didn't work. But just by eyesight here, it looks like they're the same. And we'll see. Okay, so the tip of the Click cigar looks like it is 457. And the tip on the Twist cigar looks like 458. Like, yeah, basically the same. Let's check the width on these tubes. 389 on that tube. I believe this one should be the same. 385. 385. 385. Let me check that other one again. I thought these were the same. 385, yeah. Just didn't hit it right the first time. Whereas the Twist is 385. Yeah, these are going to be the same. 385. Let's check the clip. 475. I hit that right. 476. And on the Twist, 474. So yeah, I'd call that the same. Yeah, I'll check the middle, but yeah, looks like the same to me. 580. 579. That's good. And I got one more here somewhere. this guy here. 529, 530. $5.29. Yeah, good. So it looks like my cigar bushings on the twist should work with the click as well. Here's a piece of apple that I had stabilized, oh gosh, I don't know when, from a project. It's a piece left over. It's actually, it's going to be a little tight, but I think it'll work. So we'll try that. Hope this camera angle's not too crazy. You want to clean this up a little bit so I can mark centers on it. The belt sander. I'm just going to take off that little odd-shaped end there. And I'm just going to mark the centers on this real quick. So somewhere right there in the middle. In my process, I normally might just turn this round so I can get it in a collet, but actually I think because this has got a little bit of a bend in it, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half first. And it looks like right about there. It's going to be yeah, it's going to be tight. So I cut these. So I cut it in half. It is going to be tight. I think I'm gonna go ahead and proceed with this little piece of wood because, well, one, it's experiment, and two, you know, if I come up a little short, I'll just throw a little decorative band on each of them. But you know, cross that bridge when I come to it. Yeah, I'm gonna mark centers on these. I use this little tool. I think I got this from Exotic Blanks. Punch the center on it. There you go. And the last one. Now I'll turn these around between centers, and then I'll be able to get them in a collet to drill it. I'll go ahead and set this up before I turn the vacuum on. So I'm just going to put I got a dead center here, live center here. And so I'm just going to move this up, get it in my, there we go, tighten it up a little bit, and get this where I think it'll do some good. Okay, now I'm just going to turn this round, only small enough to where I can get it in my, I got an ER32 collet set, so I'll just so that I can get it into the biggest one of those, in a 20, 21 millimeter or something like that. The instructions call for 10mm bit, which I have, but I kind of like to sneak up on it a bit. Well, you'll see. I'll go through smaller bits first and build up to there, and probably 3/8 is a little under 10, so I'll probably check it and see if it actually will fit in 3/8 and stop there, and if not, I'll do the 10. I'm not going to run the vacuum for the drilling. Get myself a center hole. Usually start with like a 1/4 inch or so. I think this is 8mm actually, but and I'm through. Okay, so that was through 3/8. Now let's check the tube, because it might actually just fit. A little tight, so I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the 10. Obviously it's not biting much, because and that should be good. It's still a little tight. You almost don't even need to use the quill if there's no difference. There's just not enough difference between the 10 and the 3/8. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah. Looking good. So, and we'll do the next one. You know, one thing I was going to say, one advantage of holding this in the collet is you got all that support on the backside, so your exit hole is nice and clean. This one I turned down a little bit farther, so I think I can switch to a smaller collet. You know, obviously, if you noticed, wasn't a real good straight edge on that, the way I use that bowl gouge.
Guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, and then there's the downside of, you know, like I said, I didn't get this real flat here. So, yeah, maybe a collet didn't. You can see a little chip out there. You know, that could be a problem. Because we're a little, you know, we're tight on length. So, yeah. So I think what I'll end up doing is doing the decorative rings, since that chipped out just a hair there. You know, another thing is that collet probably didn't get a real good grip on this because of the, if I'd have just taken a little more time, I might have gotten away with that, but, yeah, whatever. You know, like maybe like a lot of people, I started squaring blanks using the, using a drill, and, yeah, that just didn't work real well for me, and at some point, I figured out that just a good straight edge against a sanding surface worked well. So I have this belt sander, so I made a little straight edge. It goes on here. It fits good and snug. Get it on there. Yeah, it fits real snug. And so this is what I use, and you know, I know a lot of people use a little mandrel or something in there to make sure it stays straight, but generally, since I do my blanks in a collet anyway, they're pretty straight. Like I said, this one not the best example, but I don't know. I generally find it's close enough. This will take material off really fast. I'm going to sand that out of there. So checking the amount of mist that I had there, I think a credit card will just do it. Well, in this case, an old room key. So I'm going to scuff this up, and then we will, I'll drill a couple of 10mm holes, cut them out, and we'll use that when we glue the tubes in. Yeah, I decided again that I would go with the 3/8 rather than the 10, just in case. I mean, I really want the hole any bigger than it needs to be, so I can always kind of wiggle around a little bit if I need to make it a little bigger. Oh, sorry. My camera is perilously close to my handle there. So let's see here. A little tight. You know, I think I may just use a reamer to finish that. I could have used the 10. Well, you know, the other thing I thought of, so I did bring a reamer, but I also have the 10mm bit, so I could just run that in by hand too. I think this reamer seems like it would be the ticket though. Not quite enough. Yeah, more of a difference in 3/8 and 10mm than I would have thought. There, good and tight. Do the other one. Perfect.
Okay, we're going to glue these up. First thing I'm going to do is just cut these, you know, I'm gonna clean that up just a little bit because of the burrs on the drill. Goes off of there. Flopped off camera, obviously. Sandpaper up the tubes. Mix up some glue. What do you think? Too much? Not enough? Probably too much. Okay, now you can see there's a little bit of darker wood here on the bottom. So I think what I'll do, I think I'll put that on the ends. I don't know. Put my, yeah, maybe I'll do that. I'm going to put the trim ring on the darker wood and put those in the center and let the other, you know, the two ends of the pen be lighter. We'll see what that looks like. I like to use this beeswax to close off the ends. I just got this on Amazon, I think. I know I bought some at PSI or someplace one time. I think it was just, you can buy it like from craft places. I'm not sure what it's used for. You know, I thought I had too much glue, but you know, maybe with the ends that I'm putting on, the segmented ends, I might need more than I thought. I'm just going to kind of scrape off that excess there. Now for the ends, put some glue. Nice thing working with epoxy is that you got plenty of time. At least this kind of epoxy. Okay, got that all coated. It'd be nice to put some on here too, maybe. At least if I can do it without getting my fingers all glued up. I'm going to twist that a little bit once I put it on anyway. Okay. Now there we go. Just push this down a little bit. Okay, now because I am going to put a little piece of sacrificial tape on here. Because I am affixing that on there, I want to put these in some clamps to dry. Try to do it underneath the camera here. Go like that. And get it squared up. That looks pretty good. Okay, so it slid off center. I mean, the tube is grabbing everything, so it doesn't really matter too much. But Okay, so we'll set that off to dry overnight. I usually go, and we will take on tube number 2. I never had much luck with CA on tubes. Seemed like half the time it grabbed before I got it where I wanted it, and then it seemed like it would occasionally let loose on me when I was turning. So I don't know. CA, I prefer epoxy, I think. As before, I kind of like to do the inside of the tube. Now this one, because this one actually was plenty long, I gotta let it run out of the end a bit so I have something to grab my credit card. Well, I got plenty of glue, but not so much to make it easy on myself. That's looking good. Throw a little piece of tape on there for grins, so don't glue it to my clamp. Of course, I couldn't find a matching clamp. Go to the next best thing. I usually buy clamps in sets of 2 or 4, but then when I go to use them, I always end up with an odd number somehow. Tighten it up. Yeah, good. Okay. Well, I'll finish this up tomorrow. Okay, these have dried overnight. Pop them out and see what they look like. I have to hit those with the sander. Won't have much to sand off, but I'll take this to the sander. Okay, well, so we'll hit these with the sander real quick. Won't take much. I had to go grab my glasses because I just could not see. Looks like I could go a little more. Yeah, looking for that shine all the way around on the metal. I think that got it. Yep, didn't take much. Okay, I'm going to turn this with a mandrel. I don't know. I've tried doing them between centers, and it's okay, but this mandrel I find works pretty good. And I like being able to see visually the pen laid out. So anyway, I think I decided I was going to put the little bit of the darker wood in the center. So cigar bushings, little guy goes on the point, and I think I'll make this the point. And then
big guy is the cap end. And so those ends felt pretty clean. I could have reamed them out, I suppose. There didn't seem to be any glue stuck in there. Okay, I think we'll have at it. Lately I've been using this carbide insert. Long story as to why the rust's there, but I had a burst pipe in here and I'm still recovering from it. But anyway, use this to kind of get it close, and then use a traditional skew when I get there. At least that's what I've been doing lately. Okay, to finish, I'm just going to swap these, use the same mandrel, but I'll swap them over and put some of these Delrin bushings in. Try to keep the point of the pen there just for reference. Looks like I will have wood is just a little rough. I know it's stabilized, but like there's a little chunk there. Yeah, I'll probably go through and do some fill first. Kind of hard to talk. I have a full face mask on when I do this stuff. So for CA finish, what I usually do is a few coats of thin, followed by a few coats of thick, and sand that until I don't get a sheen anywhere, which means I got a smooth surface. And then I will repeat that maybe once or twice, sort of depending on my mood. I'm going to go ahead before I even put any CA on there and hit those spots with just a little bit of sandpaper. I'm not going to try to turn those off. I mean, a lot of times I like to do filling before I do the last sort of cleanup pass with the skew. I just didn't notice the holes. It would look pretty good when I was turning it. So I'm just going to hit this with a little sandpaper to work that smooth. I'm afraid that, like, when I go to put the thin CA on, that the little ridge there or something will cause it to be a little odd. Okay, I'm just going to hit them quickly with some 400 overall. Sometimes I skip this depending on how, if I feel like this last pass or two of the skew is okay, because I'm going to put the CA on and then sand it off anyway. But now, hit that with a little alcohol to clean it off, clean off the sanding dust. You get your first look at what the pen's going to look like as it gets alcohol hits it. Then we'll put some CA on, back on with the face mask. Now I'm going to sand that off. I don't like to sand with the lathe running. It seems like I always get sanding marks when I do that, so I like to sand back and forth this way by hand. And honestly, I'm not sure it's that much slower to do it that way, but anyway, that's the way I do it. Probably can't see this on the camera, but when you're doing this, you can tell when you've got it smooth because the entire surface is matte, except for if there's any divots in there, you're going to see a shine, like a little shiny spot. Look, there's one right there. And so when I'm sanding, what I tend to do is keep doing this, and I keep spinning and looking for shiny spots. I have some 1000 and 2000 paper, and I usually put this on, or usually apply this when the lathe is running. So now I'll run through micro mesh and water. Honestly, I've recently been kind of questioning whether I actually need to do this, because I just think that if I go with the polish right away, it might be just as good, but I don't know. I guess habit. I still run through the micro mesh first. That's where all the magic happens. Novus number 2. Yeah, like I said, you know, I keep thinking like maybe I don't even need to do the micro mesh. This maybe the Novus will be strong enough to do it. Last step, I hit it with some Novus 1. Yeah, let's see if we can get a better look. Oops, sorry. So get a better look on this. Not the best camera in the world. You can see maybe just a slight variation in the thickness of the white. You know, this one, I think I had to sand off just a hair more. Not sure if that's going to be a big deal anyway.
Assembly. You know, I'm always a little suspicious of a little CA getting in the ends during finishing, so I kind of like to just hit that with just a little bit of sandpaper in case there's a little something there. And actually, it feels okay. See if I can move the pen press over here underneath the camera. Okay, step 1. Pen clip into upper tube. Well, it'd be like that. Like so. Center band with white tube into opposite end of upper tube. Well, that would be this guy here. I had tested the click mechanism out earlier, so it's telling me to put this guy in here next. Like so. Pause for a second so we'll make sure that I had this correct. There should be a center band that goes on here. As it goes there. Yeah. Insert the click mechanism into the center band. Like so. Press the tip into one end of the lower tube. Set that aside here. Tip this. I noticed this little center band here. Looks like, yeah, I think it was going the right way. I was questioning whether this went that way or that way. I think it came assembled like this, so I'm assuming that's the way it's supposed to go. You could always change it later. I guess it's screwed on there. Place the refill with the spring inside the lower tube. This. You know, I feel like I left out that center band right there. I think that was supposed to go there. Yeah, just looking at the picture here, there's supposed to be actually there's two trim rings here that go. Two of these trim rings go in there. Kind of hard to do this while you're videoing, to tell you the truth. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna go pop this out. Let's do that off camera real quick. Actually, I just thought I'd show this. So obviously it's hard to punch this out because I've got that plastic click mechanism in there. So this is what I do a lot of times on this sort of situation, is just get a hold of this like with a collet. And then you can usually just pull it out. I'm gonna just do this off camera because I can't. I'm at an awkward angle. No luck with the collet pulling that out, so I ended up just knocking it out. And I don't trust using the. So I don't trust using the parts that I knocked out. So rated this from another kit. Actually, I noticed when I pulled out the bag, the other kit, this is the way this is packaged. So I probably had taken that apart. Had I left the kit together, maybe I would have caught that earlier. Anyway, so we'll start over. And I didn't pay much attention to where I put the clip on this other one, which normally is something you want to do. And this is kind of a bit of plain side right here, so maybe I'll go right there. I'll say one thing, the press fit is really tight. I mean, not in a bad way. Well, unless you have to disassemble it, but that pen ain't going anywhere. Let's make sure that's tight. You know, I think I'm gonna put a little CA in there because what probably happened is when I knocked it loose, it widened just ever so subtly there. So I'm gonna get a drop of CA and put it on there. Okay, now back to the instructions. Engage both barrels. Drop the click spring into the cap. Screw the click onto the thread and tighten. there's a little spring. It's supposed to go in here. Screwed on there fairly easily. It feels like it wants to work. Go on there. And voila. Okay, let's knock that off. Yeah. Not bad looking. Yeah, to my eye, it has quite a bit of a waist right here. I'm gonna double check the picture, see if that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, that looks correct. Yeah, that's what the picture looks like. A little different than a standard cigar. No, I just put the refill in there that came with the kit. I usually swap those out. Interesting. So here's another cigar, like a regular cigar. See if we can see what they have. Lay them down, maybe. Pretty similar. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the difference in the size of the tubes, because the tubes in the regular cigar are both just a little longer than these. And I guess you clearly see that on the bottom. Top looks really similar, actually, even though, I don't know, maybe it's a little shorter. But then you got the click mechanism sticking up. So yeah, I guess if you ignore the click mechanism, it's clearly this is a little smaller. So I don't know what it feels like writing. Regular cigar feels heavier to me. I might have to weigh them, but yeah, this, of course, yeah, it could be material. It could be the material. I mean, this is stabilized wood also, but I think this was some really, really punky stuff that is probably 99% cactus juice and 1% wood, whereas, you know, this was a fair amount of wood in this. Okay, well, we'll take some pictures, and then it'll really be done. Not done until you get pictures of it, right? Yeah, here's my picture setup. I don't know, some kind of Amazon cheap canvasy cube, and then I've got some lights sitting around. There's one of those on each side that I have left over from back in the day when I used to do some photography. So they just the room I'm in is pretty much all white, so I just fire those off in the room, and that's enough light to light this puppy up. This is some kind of hybrid technology to keep the cube from collapsing onto itself. I said it was cheap. It is. So pictures are done. Before I forget it, I'm going to swap the refill. I really like these Schmidt Easy Flows, and usually put these in all the pens I make. You know, I'm actually pretty impressed. I didn't expect that much. I've heard some quality issues, or I heard about quality issues from pens from China, manufactured in China as opposed to Taiwan. But honestly, if somebody had given me this, I don't think I would have known. You know, couldn't have guessed where it came from. You know, as far as differences in what I'm used to in a cigar, it definitely feels just a little lighter. That's actually a good thing in my opinion. I think cigars are a little bit heavy, but I guess the tubes are a little shorter, so therefore you're going to have a little less material. Maybe that makes sense. It could be simply be the wood. This is stabilized, and it was, as I mentioned, it was really really soaked up the stuff. So it could just be the material that I used on the pen. Nothing to do with the kit. You know, it's interesting. The color, you know, just compared to a regular cigar, and I like I said, I don't remember what kind of flavor this was. Well, this particular pen, I don't remember where this came from. U.S. Manufacturer, or sorry, U.S. Distributor for sure. Have no idea where it was made, but this is sort of almost more of a gunmetal. I mean, when I look at it by itself, it looks black, but then when I put it next to this, it clearly is not as black as this. So it's almost more of a metal finished in black. As far as the click action goes, you know, I like it. It's not objectionable. It's not super quiet. It's not super loud. I'd say it's kind of in the middle. Tactically, it feels firm. So I don't know. It's workable. Yeah. So overall, yeah, pretty happy, and definitely be making some more of these.